Hello, everyone. We're now finally done with Module 2.2 and now we're ready for 2.3. Now, I'd like you guys to focus on the observable behaviors rather than internal mental processes. So, it's not about how the students think, but it's how the students react on a particular situation that's going on around them. So, let's start off with classical conditioning. Classical conditioning is introduced by Ivan Pavlov. He says that we can learn or people learn to associate one thing with another, and he calls this learning by association. In his experiment, Pavlov made dogs salivate at the sound of a bell because he paired the bell with food. So it's not exactly and directly the food that makes the dog salivate, but just the sound of the bell makes the dog salivate because he associated the sound of the bell with that of the food. This is also best illustrated in a classroom when a teacher plays a soft bell sound every time it's time to clean up. Over time, the students start to clean up as soon as they hear the bell, even if they don't see the teacher. What a relief, right? They've learned now to associate the bell with the end of playtime. And now we go to Connectionism by Edward Thorndike. He emphasizes that behaviors that led to rewards are more likely to be repeated. So, in the experiment, Thorndike put a cat in a puzzle box, and that cat learned to press a lever to escape because it got the reward, which is the freedom another cat is able to eat. This was after he was trying to scratch, he tried meowing, he tried to do a lot of things before he was able to realize that just by simply pushing a or pressing a lever could lead to the opening of the box. So in the classroom also, this is illustrated when a teacher gives a student a sticker. Is it familiar? When a teacher gives a student a sticker every time they complete their homework on time. So the student is more likely to do their homework in the future because they associate completing it with getting a reward. Now, behaviorism, and the proponent of this is the father of behaviorism, John Watson. So he says that all behavior is learned from the environment. We don't need to think about our feelings. We just respond to what happened around us. It actually makes sense. There are some things that's happening to us that we don't think, but we just react impulsively. So this is behaviorism. Watson conditioned a baby, and he called it Little Albert, to fear a white rat by pairing it with a loud, scary noise. Prior to that, little Albert, before there was a sound, just goes directly to the little rat without fear. Now, this time, even without the loud, scary noise, by simply looking at the white rat, little Albert is already afraid of the white rat. And this is best illustrated in the classroom when a teacher claps her hands every time students raise their hands to speak. Over time, students start to raise their hands more quickly because they associate the clapping sound with being called on, even if no verbal reward follows. So that's for behaviorism. Now, there is what we call operant conditioning. This is introduced by B.F. Skinner. According to him, behaviors are shaped by rewards and punishment. So, in addition to the connectionism of Edward Thorndike, which is the rewards, now there are two. There are rewards and punishments. So, in his experiment, B.F. Skinner introduced a rat on a box, and there are two, let's say, buttons there. If the rat is going to press that button, the food will come out. And when he presses the other button, he is gonna be electrified. Mouse quickly learned to press the one that gives the food and then remembers not to press the one that will electrocute him. In a classroom scenario, a teacher gives a student a star sticker every time they follow the classroom rules. So this is positive reinforcement. The student starts following the rules more often because they want more stars. Alternatively, if a student misbehaves, the teacher might give them a timeout or a punishment, making them less likely to misbehave again. And now, after behaviorism, there is now what we call neo behaviorism. So, for neo behaviorism, there is both rewards and internal thoughts or expectations influence behavior. Researchers like Clark Hall and Edward Tallman added that things like hunger and expectations can affect behavior and not just rewards. So, one of the famous neo behaviorism theory is from Edward Tallman, which is purposive behaviorism. And he emphasized that behavior is goal directed. So here, people and animals act with a purpose in mind. Tolman showed that rats formed a cognitive map of a maze, meaning they were working toward a goal, which is getting food, even when they weren't immediately rewarded. In the classroom, a student who knows they will receive a certificate for completing all their assignments by the end of the month might work steadily toward that goal, even when there are no immediate rewards. The student is motivated by the purpose of achieving the goal, which is the certificate. Albert Bandura is also one of the neo behaviorists, and he introduced social learning theory. He says that we learn by watching others, or simply called modeling. We imitate, or people imitate behaviors when we see others doing them. So here Bandura has the Bobo doll experiment, and it shows that children learned aggressive behaviors by watching adults act aggressively toward a doll. That makes so much sense, right? In a classroom scenario, if a student sees their classmate help another student with a difficult task and receive praise from the teacher, they are likely to imitate this behavior and offer help to others. This shows that children learn not only from rewards and punishments, but also by observing how others behave. And that caps off our module 2. Thank you so much for listening.